All right, for today's workshop, we'll need a canvas, either just a brand new raw canvas or maybe an old painting that just doesn't serve you anymore and it's been sitting unfinished for a while and you like to finish it. Or maybe even take it to a different path, a new path. You'll need a few paintbrushes maybe with different textures or different shapes to these paintbrushes. You might want to look at mine. And you'll need some spatulas if you have any sort of spatula like that, and if not, a gift card of some sort would work. A plastic gift card is a good one as well. Other than that, you need any kind of sponge. I've just taken a dish sponge and I've cut it in different pieces, a semicircular, a triangle, a square, so you can do that. Sponge brushes are wonderful for this sort of painting. If you have any sort of stamp, that might be a great idea. You can find these in secondhand stores once they open. And or you can cut out your own little sponges or stamps, and I do it through just through makeup sponges or any sort of sponge you have in the house. There are these finger painting sponges as well. You can get it from the dollar store, and the dollar store closest to Safeway right in that complex is the best one for maybe just cheaper art supplies, crafty stuff like this. Yeah, this is about it. And of course your paints. I have some of these, I don't know what they are. I've got them from the dollar store again. I'm assuming they're for warts or skin tags or whatever, but they're wonderful to make little shapes on your canvas. And you can always stick an end of these, or stick one of these to an end of a spool maybe, yeah, just it's thread, spool, and I just stick it here so I have something to hold on to when I press and release on my canvas. So there's a few ideas for you. And then of course a palette with all your colors, or as many colors as you want. I have white in the center, and then I've just gone from primary colors to secondary colors and some extras that I've had, but up to you, whatever you want to do. So we'll start with the raw canvas here, and I usually just take my biggest paintbrush. You can spray some water on your canvas just to get it going. And then maybe the colors I'll use for this practice are going to be, again, something a little bit joyful, a little bit lighter. They can be in different shapes and sizes, whatever might work for you at this present moment here. And don't pay much attention to perfection at the moment. You're just kind of playing around, and so we'll let this dry, and then maybe if I have time I can work back on this. And so this is about it. I'll make sure to wash my sponge brush, and I'm a really messy painter, and I love to get my hand in water and paint, and if I'm playing with clay, again the same thing, I get paint and clay and all that all over me, so maybe wearing some sort of a protective layer on top of your clothing would help. So we'll go back to this painting that I would like to change, and then this is where the fun part and creativity might come handy, is you just kind of think of what kind of shapes you want to build on your canvas, and I don't actually think, it just happens for me. So I'm going to start with my big thick sponge brush again, and I'll start just dabbing around. I'll just play around and see what happens. So I have no idea where this painting is taking me. I'm just kind of dabbing around here, and then hopefully it'll start giving me a direction, and if it doesn't, it doesn't, yeah? So don't get too caught up on how it should look and what are you going to try to paint here. It's completely abstract, and we're back to our early, maybe elementary days of not really much thinking about how a tree looks like or what is the color of a real tree. I remember my brother painted a tree purple, and yeah, that was a That was a very liberating thing to think about, purple trees. So with these spoolie things, with these spongy things, you might like to paint on the sponge with your paintbrush. That's an idea. Yeah. There we go. And again, any sort of shape or movement on your canvas would work, as long as you're not thinking too much about it. These are just the first few layers, and there's not much thought involved. It's just playfulness. How often do we get a chance to be playful and not really think about what we're doing or what we're trying to present? The only thing that I usually kind of come across that makes me pause a little bit are colors. What colors do I want to play with? But you even really don't need to think much about the colors at this stage of your painting. There we go. We'll just do a few more here. Okay. And then again, it might feel nice or be nice to put some paint on and then allow it to drizzle down your painting. That might be a fun thing to do. Just put some paint on and allow it to kind of drizzle down or sideways or so this process is going to take you a few minutes, sometimes few hours, and there's this such bliss. It's kind of a meditative state of just kind of playing around. Just make sure that to let some of your paint dry before you go on to the next layer and the next layer and the next layer. So I'm going to keep on playing with this for maybe a few more hours. For the purpose of the video, I will switch to another canvas that I've already played for a few hours, and all I've done is just dabbed and I've maybe splashed some paint on the canvas just to give it some texture, some soul, some life. And then kind of I let this dry, and then I go on to the next canvas. And if you don't have another canvas and you just like to work one canvas at a time, that's totally fine as well. You can just allow this canvas to dry, go have some breakfast, lunch, dinner, whatever, go for a walk, and then you can come back to it once it dries. And the reason is because usually the paints get muddy if we don't let them dry. Next thing is, you've come back, you've played a little bit more, and you've made more squiggly lines and circles and dabbed more stuff. And so something like this will arrive. You'll have something like this. And then once you have something like this, you might decide to write something here on your canvas. You might decide to stick something on the canvas. And so I'm going to stick this cutout. It's from a really, really old book. And she's actually a ballerina, and I don't know her name, sadly. I use a matte medium. You can use glue or you can use gloss medium if you wish. Mine is the cheapest brand possible, but you can go for more expensive brands. You can go for Golden, which is my favorite brand of paints, and kind of any sort of mediums here. So you drizzle some glue on the canvas and you kind of put your girl or whatever, your image, somewhere that you think that, yeah, this is a good place for my image. And then you start your finger, or I use my finger. You can use spatula or anything else. You kind of spread it out like you're spreading jam or peanut butter on your toast. And I start with her head. I kind of smudge or push the glue out from behind her body outwards. And so now that I have glue in my hand, I kind of like try to cover as much surface outwards as possible too. And the girl might dance around on your canvas, which you can allow her to do so. She has the freedom to slide and glide around before she is permanently glued. I start from her face just because that's the most important part for me. I want her face to look just ever so perfect in case paint is not dry, or in case, I don't know, I have dogs in the house. Sometimes there's hair somewhere that kind of sticks to my finger, and there we go. So now I have my image stuck to my painting and I have to let it dry. And with this matte medium, it's going to be a little bit kind of cloudy. And once it dries, it's going to get more shiny and you won't kind of be able to see this cloudiness of it. So we'll put this one aside. And then so comes another painting that's already done. I've done all my little finger paintings and texture and everything like that. I've stuck my beautiful little ballerina there, and I like to write affirmations on my paintings, especially recently. Not sure why, but it's something that feels wonderful. And for this one, I would like to write listen with your heart. So I simply use a Sharpie. It's a Lumo color permanent Sharpie. It's color black, and I think it's acid free, water based, but you can of course use any sort of Sharpie that you wish. I just find that if you go to the art store, you find better Sharpies so they don't run, or they don't the color doesn't fade away with time. So listen with your heart, and of course you can write it wherever you wish. And so you have the choice to kind of paint around your little verbiage if you wish. Yeah, you can leave it black. You can paint it with a different color Sharpie if you prefer. Yeah, so whatever feels right. Now my little ballerina, I've left her just the same way I have peeled her off the paper and given her new life on this canvas. But of course you can take your kind of paint and you can paint around it as well. So as you see, this ballerina, I have pasted it, but then I've painted around just so it doesn't look like it's a cutout. Yeah, there's paint around it. And if you look at my writing, I've kind of done the same thing. I've gone in and I've kind of painted around the writing just so it mushes better with its surrounding. And this one's called Find Your Voice. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope this inspires you to paint, paste, and write. Namaste.